Hope you are doing well, and welcome on in. November 20th, and appreciate you listening. Thursday, right? Thursday, November 20th. Yeah, it's Thursday. I was off one day, Joan, and it always messes me up with, okay, what day is it?
You don't need excuses, Dan.
Anyway, moving on. The Epstein files are due to be released in 30 days. President Trump said this on Truth Social. Jeffrey Epstein, who was charged by the Trump Justice Department in 2019, not the Democrats, was a lifelong Democrat, donated thousands of dollars to Democrat politicians, and was deeply associated with many well-known Democrat figures, such as Bill Clinton, who traveled on his plane 26 times, Larry Summers, who, and you just heard Joan talk about this, just resigned from many boards, including Harvard, sleazebag political activist Reid Hoffman, minority leader Hakeem Jeffries, and on it goes. He also talks about Stacey Plaskett and many more. The president continuing on, perhaps the truth about these Democrats and their associations with Jeffrey Epstein will soon be revealed, because he says, I have just signed the bill to release the Epstein files. And so we've got now 30 days. And we'll continue to watch all of this fallout. And so a couple of things. And I'm hearing, I don't know what I'm hearing, but you got something really loud in there, brother. And it's bleeding through the headphones. So Scott Jennings was on CNN. I want to play this real quick, because what do the Democrats do? When the Democrats are in trouble, they start calling the race card. And that is exactly what happened on CNN. Listen to this.
Scott, you keep saying, well, he didn't do anything. There's no indication of criminality. If that's true, he should be elated that we're putting these things out.
If that's true, it is true. Can you name any evidence?
I would like to see the evidence. What I'm saying is...
You think after 10 years of public life, you wouldn't know it already?
No, I don't. No, that's exactly the point.
Oh, my goodness.
Scott,
this is an IQ test. Don't fail it. Come on, man.
I love what he said. If this were an IQ test, you would fail it. Come on, man. So a couple of things just real quick. And then because of that, because Scott Jennings was speaking to a black man, another black man on the panel over there on CNN, is like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe you said that to a black man. Okay. Remember who Epstein donated to? Bill and Hillary Clinton, Chuck Schumer. Hakeem Jeffries came sniffing around looking for money after we knew that Jeffrey Epstein was a groomer and a pedo. So you've got Hakeem Jeffries. He is denying that he remembers any such email. But you've got all these big Democrat donors involved as well. I just read you the post from Donald Trump. So you've got all of these big Democrat names. And I think part of what's going to happen here with this release is this going to get very uncomfortable for some people on the left. And a lot of these names we already know. They've been bandied around for years. But I think that for the Republicans, they're thinking, okay, you know what? These Democrats have been accusing us for a long time now about being, protectors of pedophiles and all of this. So let's go ahead and just release everything. And let's also investigate Epstein's ties to Democrats, which is part of what Donald Trump is wanting to do, and that is part of the story. So Trump wants all of these released because he knows there isn't anything incriminating on him. What basically the president wants to do is move past the distraction. He wants these released. But to his point, Scott Jennings' point, wouldn't we know something about these files after 10 years of public life? Of course. Against the Clintons? Donald Trump running against Hillary Clinton, and you don't think that information would be out there? I mean, I know that we've all been saying this, so I'm not going to, live on this comment for the next 20 minutes. I just think it's obvious that Scott Jennings is right. But then here comes the whole race-baiting argument because, again, I believe the Democrats know that they're dead in the water on this one.
10 years Donald Trump has been in public life.
That's embarrassing.
Scott, it is an IQ test. I mean, for 10 years, we haven't heard any names. So you really think that no one's involved?
No, obviously. Larry Summers was involved. Stacey Plaskett was involved. There's all kinds of people involved with Jeffrey Epstein.
If someone was...
Just real quick, I just want to bring it back to something that just happened. I feel like I just heard Scott
call into question this black man's intelligence with the IQ test.
Well, can I ask a question? Why is he making this about race or color of skin? It had nothing to do, and I love all the drama, right? Guy's name is Joshua Doss. And Scott Jennings said if this were an IQ test, you'd fail. Well, it has nothing to do with the color of his skin. It has everything to do with the conversation about Epstein. So to me, I think that you've got Scott Jennings, who is right, and now the panelists here on CNN, they have nowhere to go. So, of course, they start talking about how Scott Jennings is questioning this black man's intelligence. Had nothing to do with that.
That just happened. I feel like I just heard Scott call into question this black man's intelligence with the IQ test.
That's what
I feel like I heard that. And so I just want to say something. This is what it sounded like.
You want to make it racial, go ahead, but it's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, I think that
by the way, we know each other and we're friends. I know this man. He's a smart guy, and we're having a debate. We're having a debate. Don't make it into so. We don't even know each other, but we do.
This actually relates back to the topic that we're having, Scott. There is you're sitting here with so much confidence without seeing all of the documents that Donald Trump is innocent. There is a presumption of guilt that a black man walks around the United States with, that I have been watching Donald Trump navigate this situation with the presumption of innocence that is never afforded to us.
So, of course, now, number one, apples and oranges. Number two, this guy is trying to make it racial to try to, I think, try to neuter Scott Jennings. And Jennings shouldn't allow him to do it.
I guess he missed where that black Chicago man had been arrested 49 times and then lit a woman on fire on the subway yesterday. I guess that...
Did that happen yesterday?
Yeah.
A woman got lit on fire in Chicago?
He'd been arrested 49 times, and he lit a woman on fire on the subway. But, because of that presumption of guilt, Dan, that they carry around with them.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I actually agree. Let's see the evidence. But I think that Jennings, he gets beaten down with all of the constant race baiting because now, again, I believe that we're talking about apples and oranges. And so for this guy to, and then again, this guy's name is Joshua Doss, I don't think there's anything wrong, obviously, with seeing the evidence. But I think part of what's going on is the Democrats, and we just played that audio from Jasmine Crockett earlier, where she was talking about Lee Zeldin getting a donation from Jeffrey Epstein. Big accusation, only to turn out it wasn't that Jeffrey Epstein. And so this is what the Democrats are doing and are going to do. It's all about these vague accusations or these blatant lies as they try to politicize this whole conversation regarding Jeffrey Epstein. To Scott Jennings' point, nobody cared until they tried to make it into a thing against Donald Trump.
Right? This is the same guy that is trailing 29 rape allegations. And we have videos of him saying things like, grab him by the you-know-what. Just the very fact that he's connected to the country's most egregious pedophile, enough. That fact alone is enough for us to ask questions about if it's a disqualifying factor for leadership. So I just don't know why you're so fervent right now.
Is it disqualifying factor for leadership? Well, Kamala Harris is going to be running for president next year. So why don't we ask this guy? Because she didn't, I don't remember, did anybody remember Kamala Harris calling out Joe Biden for not in the Joe Biden DOJ? Was there any calling out regarding the Epstein files when Kamala was vice president? No? Okay. So is it, I would say to this Joshua Doss, is it a disqualifying factor? Because your candidate, who shares your skin color, by the way, not that that matters, but okay, so that's my question. Because if Kamala Harris didn't call for the releasing of the Epstein files by the Biden DOJ, well, then, according to this guy who's a Democrat, this is a disqualifying factor, right?
Saying that I know for a fact he has nothing. Can we see the files and make that decision?
Yeah, and listen, I'm all for seeing the files. I am all for seeing the files. But here's the question. when we already know that the Democrats are trying to, through very hardcore innuendo and obfuscation, they're trying to tie Donald Trump to these files. They're going to, of course, try to continue that either through that innuendo and obfuscation or absolute blatant lies like Jasmine Crockett did yesterday regarding Lee Zeldin and that donation from Jeffrey Epstein, a Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, not the Jeffrey Epstein. And she knew it and she lied. By the way, the answer, Scott Jennings, just to put a final wrap on this, the whole Epstein files, 30 days. Scott Jennings beaten down by all of the ludicrous accusations of racism and the Democrats really trying twisted pretzel logic to say that their plight as, and I'm just going to air quote this because I don't want to get into all of this, but their plight as black men in America, trying to tie that to Donald Trump and, this air of innocence or whatever it is that is around him. The other thing that I would say is that the Democrats have not given Donald Trump an air of innocence or the presumption or assumption of innocence. They've been attacking him since day one. Well, since when they realized they could politicize this, because they had nothing to say, again, during the Joe Biden administration, nothing at all. It was just nothing but, oh, yeah, that's just a Republican conspiracy theory. Anyway, this is how Scott Jennings ended.
Scott?
Look, here's what I think. It's been going on for 10 years.
Yep.
If there was a shred of anything to know about Donald Trump, we would already know it. What do we know? We know
absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence.
We know that Donald Trump knew Jeffrey Epstein, and we know that he excommunicated him from Mar-a-Lago and his life. We also know that after Epstein was convicted, that powerful Democrats continued to stay in touch with Jeffrey Epstein. This is not a story about Trump. It is a story about powerful men. Many of them are in the Democratic Party. We're going to find that out. You can't wash away the politics.
We got to hit pause on this conversation.
Republican versus Democrat.
That's because every Democrat goes on TV and accuses Trump of having done something.
And there you go. You know, my favorite part of airing those clips is when everybody just starts screeching at each other. People watch it. And so I love how they're like, oh, well, the Republicans are the ones that are politicizing this. No, that would be the Democrats.
I mean, Doss, he gets caught in a web of, well, I don't have the facts to dispute what Scott Jennings is saying, so I'm going to make this about race and play the victim card.
Right.
That's all they have.
Well, and the thing is, the assumption is, and it's the wrong form for this kind of a conversation if I'm Scott Jennings, because they're bringing this up because they're trying to, again, neuter any response that Scott Jennings could have by refuting what this Joshua Doss has to say, or certainly trying to connect it to the perception or the presumption of innocence that Donald Trump supposedly has, which in this country you are presumed innocent and you have to have your day in court and all that kind of stuff. And Donald Trump, the Democrats have presumed that he was innocent, presumed that he was guilty for a long time. They've basically been accusing him of the most god-awful things. And so Trump is like, okay, so what's going to happen is they've had access to these files for how long? So they could easily, the Democrats could easily slip something in there to make it look like he is, guilty of doing something untoward with these girls. And so I think that ultimately, at the end of the day, the best we can do is release all of these files. That's what Donald Trump is trying to do. That's what the House voted to do. That's what the Senate voted to do as well. Trump signed it. Now we got 30 days. The question is this. Will all the files be released? And it sounds like this is going to be a steadfast no. Joan, I've got a favor I'd like to ask of the listening audience.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
Because I can't possibly do my own homework. Chris and I are going to be recording our podcast today. And one of the things that we want to do is review some of the best, juiciest clips that we've had this year. And so, because you've got things that the ladies on The View say, or Jasmine Crockett, or Afton Bain. And so I'm racking my, because I've only got 5. I can only do 5.
Oh, you You can only present 5. And Chris has 5?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think of, what are the best ones, folks. If you can utilize your recollection better than me, remember some of the best ones that we've had this year so far, 2025. Because there's been a lot of good ones from the Democrats as they continue to unravel in front of our eyes. So do you have, maybe it's Jasmine Crockett, maybe it's AOC, maybe it is Afton Bain, maybe it is Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, Brandon Johnson. Let's go Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago. We could talk about J.B. Pritzker. We could talk about any of these folks. So if you have a favorite that you just specifically remember, send them to the text line between now and 9, 615-737-9986. Chuck Schumer. Now, one of the questions I asked yesterday, what is the Democrats' next move, right? Because you know that they got absolutely hammered in the shutdown. Now they're trying to talk about the Epstein files. That was their next move. President Trump, the Senate, the House of Representatives, everybody is saying, you know what? Just release it already. Okay. So that's what Donald Trump is doing. Now, this is Chuck Schumer from yesterday. Listen close.
We got to make sure we get all of the Epstein files, all. They can't around with this. And we are going to be pursuing them relentlessly to get everything. Because I don't trust this administration. I don't trust Bondi. I don't trust Kash Patel. I don't trust the president. And they could screw around with this.
So Chuck Schumer talking tough. So yesterday.
He shouldn't be using trashy language like that at his age.
No, he shouldn't.
Just makes him seem slimier than he already is.
How could Chuck Schumer really seem more slimy? Let's be honest. And you know what I would
Good
like
question.
to know?
Yeah.
As Schumer is, demanding to know all of the Epstein files and all that, can we see the check that he wrote to Chuck Schumer's campaign? And how much that was? You'll notice Schumer's not saying anything about that. Nothing about the Clintons.
Right.
And Epstein donating to the Clintons and so forth. I think the Epstein files, they're going to reflect poorly on the Democrats. So Schumer's play is to say, well, the Republicans didn't release all of the files. That's what's coming up next. All the files that had to do with Donald Trump. So what that sounds like to me is that this is going to be the Democrats' next play, is the Democrats are going to say that Trump didn't release all the files. Well, there are some loopholes that have now been included in the releasing of the Epstein files. So Stacey Plaskett, just real quick, let me play this real quick. Stacey Plaskett, remember her? She is the congresswoman who was getting, play-by-play questions in real time from Jeffrey Epstein after we knew that he was a pedo and a groomer and all of these other things, getting ready to question Michael Cohen. So this is what she said to answer those, and it's not an accusation. It really did happen.
I got a text from Jeffrey Epstein, who at the time was my constituent. You want to talk about text?
Hey, can I ask a question? Do all of her constituents have her cell phone?
I'm thinking it's probably the number she guards the most closely from her constituents.
Yes, especially now. So because that's what they're trying to say. Jeffrey Epstein was a constituent. That's all he was. He was a constituent. Okay, so Stacey Plaskett, how many of your constituents have your cell phone number?
It's also pretty bold to admit that after he was on the sex offender registry and a convicted felon.
Right.
You want to talk about texting felons? How often do you text President Donald J. Trump?
Oh, there you go. Listen to the crowd behind her.
That's the individual we should be concerned about.
That's the individual we should be concerned about. Mm-hmm. That's what they all say.
Why do the U.S. Virgin Islands have a congressperson?
It kind of sounds like they really don't.
They have a delegate, which is
she's a non-voter.
She can't vote,
Yeah.
but she can represent her area. Same thing for the mayor of, not for the mayor, for there's a Washington, D.C. delegate, Eleanor Holmes Norton.
Do we like her?
Holmes. No, we don't.
Okay.
Oh, but at least her position makes sense.
Sort of. She also can't vote. She just brings up a lot of issues.
Well, if the Democrats get their way, they'll make D.C. a state. So
That's what they want to do.
That is what they want to do. This is from the Washington Examiner. The Justice Department will release additional files from its investigation into the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein within 30 days. Attorney General Pam Bondi saying on Wednesday, while signaling that an active federal inquiry in New York and the need to shield victims could mean the public never sees a complete record. So this is where it's gone. Because remember, Trump came out and he said, all right, I want the Department of Justice to look at the connection between Jeffrey Epstein and all these Democrats, right? That was Donald Trump a few days ago. So now there is another investigation going on. And so that means that it essentially gives the Department of Justice permission to hold back some of those files. The story continues on. The Justice Department will release additional files from its investigation into the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein within 30 days. Attorney General Pam Bondi saying Wednesday, while signaling that an active federal inquiry in New York and the need to shield victims could mean the public never sees a complete record. I'm going to play this audio from Pam Bondi. Did you see this yesterday, Joan?
Yeah.
It was, it was laughable.
New investigation by the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney prevent the department from releasing all of the remaining files.
So we have released over 33,000 Epstein documents to the Hill, and we'll continue to follow the law and to have maximum transparency.
So she must have said, I don't know if you caught this, Joan.
That we will follow the law.
Follow the law and provide maximum transparency. She must have said that like 15 times.
I know. Oh my gosh.
It was like, oh my gosh, stop it already. We got it. Follow the law and provide transparency. So when she says follow the law, well, she's talking about the legislation or resolution, whatever it was, that Donald Trump has signed and the House and the Senate have passed to release the Epstein files in 30 days. But the problem is that the Trump administration did give some, I don't know if you want to call them loopholes, but some guardrails where if this would interfere with a current investigation, then you can't release it or it's got to be heavily redacted. So now you've got all the folks out there saying, aha, there are loopholes. We knew we wouldn't get all of the documents, right? That's what's going on. And Pam Bondi sure as heck wasn't helping. Follow the law and provide transparency is what we're hearing.
Also, we will always encourage all victims to come forward.
Yep.
What are the next steps, Madam Attorney General, for the DOJ regarding what we assume President Trump will sign into law with the Epstein files? Is this going to be on the Justice Department website? What are you doing here over the next 30 days as we understand it?
So I want to make sure you got this. So they're asking a very specific question. What exactly is it you're going to be doing for the next 30 days?
We will continue to follow the law with maximum transparency.
She just, it's the same thing. Do you know what it felt like? It felt like, remember when we would joke around about cringe Jean-Pierre or circle back Jen Psaki, where they were just, they have that one sentence that they would continue to say over and over again. So when Pam Bondi says we're going to follow the law and provide the maximum amount of transparency, well, the law allows for these loopholes, as I just explained.
While protecting victims.
Yeah. When you say follow the law, Madam Attorney General, do you mean that you will provide all the files by 30 days?
We will follow the law. The law passed both chambers last evening. It has not yet been signed, but we will continue to follow the law, again, while protecting victims, but also providing maximum transparency.
I wonder if we played take a drink and get drunk. I think you'd be drunk pretty
Trashed.
quick.
Yeah.
So there is new information, apparently. She talked about how there's new information. And because of that new information, that there will be some material, perhaps, that will not be released.
that. Madam Attorney General, the DOJ statement earlier this year saying that the files would not release mentioned the fact that the review of the documents and the evidence did not suggest that any additional investigation of third parties was warranted. What changed since then that you launched this investigation?
Information that has come for information. There's information new information, additional information, and again, we will continue to follow the law, to investigate any leads. If there are any victims, we encourage all victims to come forward, and we will continue to provide maximum transparency under the law.
Maximum transparency under the law. So there's a line in this order. This is from the Washington Examiner. The legislation passed on Tuesday says records can be withheld if they would jeopardize an active federal investigation. The legislation passed on Tuesday says records can be withheld if they would jeopardize an active federal investigation. The Trump administration, they say, may also withhold records that identify victims or include images of child sexual abuse, of course. The Trump administration may also withhold records that identify victims or include images of child sexual abuse, of course. The Justice Department has already said the files it withheld contained images of victims and videos of illegal child sex abuse. The Justice Department has already said the files it withheld contained images of victims and so forth. So, yeah, this is something that for the Republicans, this is going to be an attack point by the Democrats because Trump has said, okay, so I want the Department of Justice to look into their connections to the Democrats. Therefore, that opens up another line of investigation, which means that some things are going to apparently be withheld. And there's going to be people out there that are going to say, listen, you could very easily make the argument that Donald Trump and his administration decided to call for this investigation into Epstein's connection with the Democrats so that they could then come out and say, absolutely, release everything except what would impede a federal investigation. So I'm just telling you that's going to be part of the narrative of the left.
The issue with the new information that you just indicated, is the department seeking information perhaps from the Epstein estate because Mr. Blanche did not have that information when he interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell? What new information? And would you limit the new investigation to just those named persons that the president talked about, or is this a broad, open-ended investigation?
I would refer to the Deputy Attorney General's post that he put out on X, and we're not going to say anything else on that because now it is a pending investigation in the Southern District of New York.
Yeah, so Southern District of New York, which, by the way, that Southern District of New York, that is widely viewed by legal experts as one of the most powerful federal prosecutors' offices in the country. It has long been conferred a greater degree of independence than the nation's other 92 U.S. attorneys' offices. In other words, when an attorney from the Southern District of New York is utilized for this investigation, a guy by the name of Jay Clayton leading the probe, well, that means that they're not messing around. Jay Clayton is going to lead the probe that President Donald Trump ordered related to Epstein and the Democrats, again, out of the Southern District of New York. So, new Daily Dan poll question up. Now, real quickly, the question, how did we frame it? Because now the question is, does this leave an opening for the Democrats like Chuck Schumer to say, well, they're not releasing everything because, now they've opened up a new branch of this investigation. So that gives the Trump administration, the accusation would be that it gives the Trump administration some cover to withhold some documents. So how did we frame the question?
Do you think the new federal investigation is an attempt to cover up things from the Epstein files? Mm-hmm. And already polling 60% yes. The previous poll, why didn't Afton and Kamala make an appearance together? 58% said Kamala avoided Afton.
Which meant that 42% then said
Afton avoided Kamala.
Afton avoided Kamala. Okay, very good.